But when African Americans make it and they get to the top, they try to help other people, but they don't really take care of the people that really should.
And that the sex was about handcuffs, choking, putting on dog collars. Do you get those at pet?
The Shannon Sharpe drama is like a high-stakes game of chess, except every piece on the board is a ticking time bomb. It's not just the shocking allegations, leaked audio, and the messy lawsuits that have everyone talking. It's the tangled web of motives, power plays, and personal feuds that make this story a full-blown cultural phenomenon. And trust us, the deeper you dig, the murkier it gets. At the center of it all is Shannon himself, a man whose public image as a charismatic, sharp-tongued sports commentator and Hall of Famer is being pulled apart thread by thread. But here's the kicker. This isn't just a story of one man's downfall. This is about the entire ecosystem of fame, where every move feels orchestrated, every scandal feels calculated, and every player has something to gain or lose.
Alrighty, y'all. So the Shannon Sharpe ESPN does he still keep his job conversation is beginning to, I was going to say beginning to happen, but it's been happening, but I think now it's beginning to get louder because of different things that Attorney Busby has released, including the audios. So right now the conversation is, why is Shannon Sharpe still able to be on ESPN?
Let's start with the audio. Imagine this, a voice reportedly belonging to Shannon Sharpe, a man once celebrated for his swagger and wit, now threatening to choke the life out of someone. It's raw, unfiltered, and yes, deeply disturbing. The clip, just over a minute long, is a train wreck of tension. On one end, you hear the woman pushing back, asking not to be treated like this, or so she claims. On the other end, there's Shannon allegedly doubling down, his tone teetering between frustration and something darker. But what really sets the internet on fire is the context, or lack of it. Was this a heated argument taken wildly out of context, or does this clip reveal a side of Shannon that his fans never imagined existed? The speculation alone is enough to send social media into a meltdown, with hashtags flying faster than Shannon's infamous comebacks on live TV. But wait, it doesn't stop there, because this isn't just about Shannon's words, it's about what they represent. The woman, identified only as Jane Doe in illegal filings, isn't just claiming verbal threats. She's alleging a pattern of controlling behavior, manipulation, and worse, all wrapped up in a lawsuit that's demanding an astronomical settlement. And then there's her attorney, the ever-controversial Tony Busby, a man known for turning high-profile cases into public spectacles. Busby doesn't just accuse, he unloads. Text messages, alleged phone calls, even claims of intimate role-playing, all of it is being dragged out for the world to see. And while Shannon's legal team fires back, calling it a blatant shakedown, the court of public opinion is already in session. The fans, the critics, the trolls, they're all picking sides, dissecting every word, and fueling a narrative that refuses to slow down.
Attorney offered that up publicly.
To me, her turning it down shows that it's not a money grab.
No, it shows that it's a bigger shake.
Now, let's talk about Kevin Hart and Katt Williams, two names that, on the surface, seem to have little to do with Shannon Sharpe's unraveling. But this is where the plot thickens, because Katt Williams, never one to shy away from a verbal sparring match, has thrown gasoline on this already raging fire. In a recent appearance on Shannon's own podcast, Katt didn't just hint, he outright accused Kevin Hart of being part of a larger conspiracy to bring Shannon down. According to Katt, this isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's a calculated takedown orchestrated by industry elites with Kevin Hart allegedly pulling some of the strings. Wild, right? But here's the thing, Katt Williams doesn't just make accusations, he brings receipts. He points to connections, whispers about backroom deals, and even drags in Gabriela Zuniga, the woman at the heart of one of Shannon's lawsuits, claiming her ties to Hollywood power players make her more than just a victim. She's a pawn, Katt says, in a game that's been rigged from the start.
In 15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show, there being a line for him ever getting a standing ovation.
Of course, Kevin Hart isn't staying silent. In his usual sharp-tongued fashion, he's clapping back, dismissing Katt's claims as nothing more than bitter ramblings. He's focused on promoting his latest project, but the tension between these two comedians is impossible to ignore. And let's not forget the history here. Katt and Kevin have been at odds for years, trading barbs and accusations like it's a contact sport. But this time, it feels different. This time, it feels different. This time, it feels different. The stakes are higher, the allegations are uglier, and the collateral damage is spreading fast. Because if Katt's claims are even partially true, it raises some chilling questions about just how far people are willing to go to protect or destroy a public figure.
Also playing that he was leading. No, we've never heard of that before that person or since that person. What do you think a plant is?
And then there's Shannon himself, who's doing everything he can to control the narrative. His public statements are a mix of defiance and damage control. He's calling this a shakedown, a deliberate attempt to smear his name and take him down for financial gain. His lawyers are releasing text messages that they claim prove the relationship was consensual, pointing to a history of mutual role-playing and explicit exchanges. But here's the problem. Once you open the door to that kind of defense, you're inviting a level of scrutiny that's almost impossible to withstand. Suddenly, every text, every voicemail, every interaction becomes a piece of evidence, a puzzle piece in a story that's spiraling out of control.
Routine was that Shannon, then they would.
Why was that relevant?
And just when you think it couldn't get any messier, enter Michelle Bundy Evans, Shannon's ex, and another accuser with a story of her own. Michelle isn't just suing for defamation. She's recounting a decade-old relationship that she claims was marred by manipulation, threats, and worse. Her allegations, though separate from Jane Doe's, paint a picture of a man who's far from the polished, charismatic figure we see on TV. And while Shannon's team continues to deny everything, calling Michelle's claims baseless and malicious, the sheer volume of accusations is casting a long, dark shadow over his career. But here's the twist. This isn't just about Shannon Sharpe, the man. This is about Shannon Sharpe, the brand, the former athlete turned media personality who spent years building an empire of credibility, relatability, and larger-than-life charisma. The man who sparred with Skip Bayless on live TV, who built one of the most watched sports podcasts in the game, and who seemed untouchable until now. Because in the world of fame, your brand is your lifeline. And once that's tainted, the fallout is almost impossible to contain.
Shannon Sharpe says he's temporarily stepping away from ESPN in the wake of a $50 million lawsuit accusing him of. A woman filed suit against Sharpe on Sunday, accusing him of raping her twice in the last 6 months.
And this brings us to the larger question. How much of this is really about Shannon Sharpe? Because the more you dig, the more you realize this story isn't just about one man's alleged actions. It's about the machinery of celebrity itself. It's about the way scandals are weaponized, the way reputations are built and dismantled, and the way the public devours it all, hungry for the next piece of drama. Whether it's Kevin Hart's alleged involvement, Katt Williams' fiery accusations, or the legal minefield Shannon now finds himself in, this story feels less like a scandal and more like a battlefield. And the question isn't just who will come out on top, it's whether anyone will walk away unscathed. But the chaos doesn't stop there, because just as Shannon Sharpe fights to salvage what's left of his reputation, the entire narrative takes another stomach-turning twist. While his legal team scrambles to paint him as a victim of extortion, more alleged skeletons are rattling out of his closet. And this time, it's not just the lawsuits or the audio clips fueling the fire, it's the whispers of a toxic culture surrounding Sharpe's meteoric rise in the media world. From behind-the-scenes allegations to former colleagues suddenly finding their voices, the picture being painted is far less glamorous than the public persona Sharpe has spent decades perfecting.
They also are now beginning to bring up past things that have happened with Shannon Sharpe, including a temporary restraining order that was filed against him back in 2010 from a woman that he was dealing with at the time, who accused him of sexual assault. He said in different things. Now, this was dropped. It was dismissed. That restraining order was dismissed.
Let's talk about his time at espn, where Sharpe first solidified himself as a larger-than-life media personality. On camera, he was unstoppable, witty, unfiltered, and fearless. Off camera, not so much. Sources close to the network have started to spill details about his alleged behavior back then, and let us tell you, it's not flattering. There are claims of tension behind the scenes, with Shannon reportedly known for his intensity, and not always in a good way. One former production assistant who has chosen to remain anonymous for now alleges that working with Sharpe was like walking on eggshells. And then there's the bombshell accusation that he once crossed a line during a confrontation with a colleague. While his reps have been quick to dismiss these claims as exaggerated or playful interactions, the whispers are growing louder, and the timing couldn't be worse. Because when you're already under the microscope, even the faintest suggestion of past misconduct can be enough to tilt the scales of public opinion.
On Easter Sunday, a lawsuit was filed in state court in Nevada against Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharpe because he has become such a massive media star, especially in the past few years. The lawsuit is going to attract a lot of attention.
And speaking of past misconduct, let's not forget the growing storm surrounding his exit from CBS Sports back in the early 2010s. At the time, it was framed as a temporary leave, but now, with the benefit of hindsight, people are asking questions. Was it really a coincidence that his departure came on the heels of a restraining order filed by a former acquaintance? Or was it something more calculated, a quiet effort to sweep a potential scandal under the rug before it could blow up? Either way, the optics aren't great, and the resurfacing of these old controversies is adding fuel to an already raging fire. But here's the kicker. Shannon isn't just fighting external battles. Internally, it seems like the walls are closing in as well. His once unshakable partnership with ESPN is now hanging by a thread. Sources within the network describe an atmosphere of unease, with many employees reportedly uncomfortable with how long it took for leadership to address the allegations. Some staffers are even calling for a full internal review, arguing that ESPN's slow response has made them complicit in the controversy. And let's not forget the whispers about potential replacements being lined up behind the scenes. Rumors are swirling that executives are courting other big names to step into Sharpe's shoes, with some suggesting that his departure is less of a temporary leave and more of a soft exit designed to save face.
Social media want everything to happen immediately.
Absolutely.
Like, it's only Thursday.
It's instant. They want everything to instantly happen. It doesn't work like that.
The righteous people on Reddit, baby, they are dissecting and divulging right now, and they are.
And if Shannon's potential exit wasn't enough of a media circus, insiders are now alleging that there's a financial element to this whole ordeal that no one is talking about. According to whispers from those close to the negotiations, Shannon's multi-platform media deals, including his podcast empire, are reportedly worth eye-watering figures that make him a prime target for lawsuits. It's not just about the money he's already made, it's about the money people think he could still make. Industry experts are speculating that some of these allegations may be timed to coincide with upcoming contractual renegotiations. If true, it would mean that Shannon is not just fighting for his reputation, but also for his future earnings, which could be permanently derailed if the scales of public opinion tip too far against him. Adding to the intrigue, there is growing chatter about a mysterious third party working behind the scenes to influence the narrative. Some sources suggest that rival media personalities, yes, even a few within the ESPN ecosystem, might be quietly pushing this scandal to the forefront in an effort to knock Shannon off his pedestal. The sports media world is notoriously cutthroat, and Shannon's rapid ascent to superstar status undoubtedly ruffled some feathers along the way. Could this be a case of old grudges coming back to haunt him? Or is it simply a matter of opportunistic timing where competitors see an opening and decide to strike while the iron is hot? Either way, the idea that Shannon's downfall could be partially engineered by forces within his own industry raises questions about loyalty, ethics, and just how far people are willing to go to protect their own piece of the pie.
But Tony Busby says this is key evidence in our case against Mr. Sharpe, so it will not be coming out. He will not be leaking this.
And saying basically it's going to come out during the trial.
Right.
If there's a trial.
If there's a trial, it will come out, which to me sounds like he's still dangling it over Shannon's head to say, we can meet, we can settle this, or we can go forward into a trial, and then the video is going to come out. Now,
and yet, through all of this, Shannon remains defiant. His social media posts are a mix of motivational platitudes and vague declarations of innocence. It's almost as if he's trying to will his way through the storm, hoping that the sheer force of his personality can carry him past the mounting allegations. But the internet is relentless, and every post he makes is met with a barrage of comments, some supportive, others scathing. Fans who once idolized him are now questioning everything, while critics are having a field day dissecting his every move. And in the age of screenshots and viral videos, there's no escaping the court of public opinion. Meanwhile, the legal drama shows no signs of slowing down. Tony Busby, the attorney representing Jane Doe, has made it clear that he's in this for the long haul. His press conferences are a spectacle in their own right, full of dramatic sound bites and carefully curated evidence designed to keep the public hooked. And then there's the rumored smoking gun that Busby claims to have a piece of evidence so damning that it could supposedly shift the entire tide of the case. While details about this mysterious evidence remain scarce, the mere suggestion of its existence has sent the rumor mill into overdrive. Could it be more audio, a video, a witness willing to come forward? Whatever it is, one thing is clear. Busby knows how to keep the spotlight firmly on his client's side of the story.
Essence from Atlanta, him refusing to look at the evidence just gives me the impression that he wants plausible deniability, and maybe the evidence should be released so that way he does not deny his actions. I mean, if that was me, I would definitely want to look at the evidence to see what I did and did not do so I can maintain my innocence.
And just when you think the narrative couldn't get any more tangled, there's another layer to consider: the role of race and power dynamics in how this story is being perceived. Some commentators have pointed out the stark contrast between how Sharpe's controversies are being handled compared to those of his white counterparts in the media world. Is Shannon being subjected to a harsher standard because of his background? Or is this simply a case of someone's public persona crumbling under the weight of their own actions? The debate is heated, with opinions sharply divided along cultural and political lines. And in the midst of it all, Shannon finds himself walking a tightrope, trying to navigate a landscape where every misstep could be his last.
To whom much is given, much is required, right? And once you've reached a certain stature, it's like the old folks always used to tell you, boy, don't let that money go to your head.
But perhaps the most surprising twist in this entire saga is the way it's pulling other celebrities into its orbit. Kevin Hart, Katt Williams, Gabriella Zuniga, each of them has their own role to play in this unfolding drama, whether they want to or not. And as their names get dragged into the headlines, the story takes on a life of its own, becoming less about the specific allegations and more about the broader implications. What does this mean for the culture of celebrity? How far are people willing to go to protect their image or destroy someone else's? And who, if anyone, can be trusted in a world where everything seems to be for sale?
According to reports, that video will not be released. Attorney Tony Busby came out and said that they are not planning to release that video how they were dropping audio because it's a very strong point of their evidence in this case, and they're going to keep it and use it as such.
Court.
Yeah. Now, that is interesting because Shannon Sharpe, remember, he kept saying he believes the video was going to come out. He believes the video was going to come out. So there's been a change there somehow.
At this point, the Shannon Sharpe scandal feels less like a single story and more like a swirling vortex, pulling in everyone and everything in its path. And while Shannon's fate remains uncertain, one thing is clear. This isn't just about him anymore. It's about the system that allowed him to rise to fame, the people who stood by him when it was convenient, and the culture that's now tearing him apart. So what do you think? Is Shannon the victim of a calculated takedown, or is this a long overdue reckoning for someone who thought they were untouchable? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, stay tuned, because this story is far from over.